kind of like a, I think people like Michael Jordan as kind of a unique kind of character.
And I have
You just see how games and possessions how they mean more. I think the U.S. is going to all win.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Nothing But Respect. Joining me, as always, is Harry Krinsky, and coming off a wide pin down from the strong side corner, 54 from tray ball, OD shooting hang pulls is tough. It's Dan Devine. How are you, Dan?
I'm doing really well, Patrick. What a wonderful way to be brought in. It's the NBA Finals. To shoot 54 on anything is really a blessing at this time of year. So we're all playing through something, and I'm just trying to get good shots up here.
Yeah, let alone hang poles at a time like this. Like
it's OD.
It's definitely OD. We'll have to get into that. Harry, how you doing?
Well, good. And I just really wanted to say is that there is a kind of like not too fantastical reading of the Haliburton game one buzzer beater as an OD hang pole. Like he thought about it for a sec, cradled it a little bit, probably more because he was thinking he might pass it to Siakam, but not just sort of from a swag perspective. But the result was the result.
I do like that you've right away brought up the swag perspective, because I was feeling like it's maybe this is why I kind of got called out of the bullpen. My understanding is that we're at like a moment of swag crisis. So obviously, who do you call in a moment like that? 42-year-old Dan Devine here, coming to you from a hotel room in Indianapolis. This is where we generate the swag, and Haliburton's shot notwithstanding, I'm hoping to bring some of that energy here to Nothing But Respect once again.
It's funny that sandwiched between obviously the Ock episode, we had Dan and Owen Phillips, like two of our most like basketball-ass guests, and each of you have like independently of each other been like, what's up with the subprime swag crisis going around?
Well, because we're bored of this shit we talk about constantly. Like, this is the most exciting stuff to discuss.
It's actually that this gets us into a perfect spot, because I did want to ask, I wanted to play a little game of do we think they've read the swag crisis piece? Okay, you're on the ground, like you're talking to people. You're in Oklahoma City and Indianapolis. So I'm gonna give a list and just let me know what you think.
Okay.
Stephen A. Smith.
No.
Hasn't even heard of it. Did it cross his timeline?
I wouldn't be surprised if the answer to that is yes, because people will put stuff in front of him constantly, like, which Pokemon would win in a battle between blah, blah, blah. Like, he gets sort of fed stuff algorithmically, so I wouldn't be shocked if it did, but I don't think he's, like, read it. I think he's been given, like, a blurb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he probably also, if he is aware of it, he thinks that Ock is, like, jacking his own ideas, because, like, he's not presenting as, like, coherent a thesis or anything, but, like, the NBA being cool or in crisis or marketable is sort of like the like background radiation of like a lot of the way he talks about the game.
He's squinting at the screen. Brock Collier? He's like...
These West Village girls.
Okay, next one. Jalen Brunson.
I think he's been made aware of it by intermediaries, but he doesn't strike me as someone who like has the Substack app on his phone.
Definitely.
I would agree with that. I think that he's been brought up to speed, if for no other reason than it's important to know that there's a new hater has emerged. It's like somebody put their quarters into Street Fighter 2, a new challenger has arisen, and to his relative swag levels.
This is the trickiest one. Rick Brunson.
Yes.
Ooh, yeah, definitely.
Resounding yes from Dan.
He's the intermediary who has to let his son know that there's a hater out there that he needs to best.
This obscure podcast lawyer is talking shit on Substack, man. But corollary to the Jalen Brunson thing, who I 100% believe has read it is Tyrese Haliburton. Like that man, like has been like he's been on podcasts, like he understands what new media is. Like he's out here like talking to Caitlin Cooper, like. That motherfucker has read the blog for sure.
No,
also, one of the big things that sort of emerged from his advancing media coverage, right, is that like he's been very clear. Like, I read what people say about me. I have and sometimes it's that is good and that is fuel. And then there's been some pieces that are like, it was a real problem for me that I knew everything awful that everyone was saying about me and got me into like a spiral at the beginning of the season. So for good or for ill, I think he's aware of it, and he seems to have found a better balance as far as how he's managing all that. But yeah, I mean, rabbit ears for sure. He's aware of what's being said out there, swag wise or otherwise.
I feel like that's like a not to derail this already derailment, but I feel like that's like an interesting one of two ways to like be a very famous NBA superstar. Is like I would either want to be like James Harden, you don't have internet, or like actually understand what all the coverage is. Like I feel like so many, it's very easy to kind of just half-ass it and like be kind of aware that there are feelings, but not really able to like contextualize them in the Haliburtonian sense. I personally like, I don't even read like mean tweets and stuff sent to me, and I don't really have like a job that's, you know, 0.1% as hard as any of these guys. So I don't know how he does it like that. Honestly, I'm sort of impressed in like a dark way. Well,
this is what the greats do, man. You do 7 years, you know, writing for Gawker, and then you move upstate. Like that is what you do. You fucking throw your phone in the Hudson and you move upstate. Haliburton has to do it quicker because he's, you know, whatever. But it's like this is you kind of overdose, you OD, if you will, on the main line of what you know you can read about yourself as a sort of object of people's projection, and then you like either blood gushes out your nose and you die, or blood gushes out your nose and then you patch it up and then you move upstate.
Well, right now he's shooting 54 on hang yourself tweets, which is kind of OD.
That's
definitely tough.
Okay, final two. This is another one. This is a complicated one. This is in the Tyrese Haliburton coaching tree. Barack Obama.
I think so.
I think so.
I think it's going to end up on his list at the end of the year.
He strikes me as someone who is like a Pablo Torre listener, kind of. So I feel like he became aware of it through that conversation, would be my guess.
He's played like pickup with Battier and Noah and stuff. Like, yeah, I feel like he's like it would have crossed his transom in some capacity.
Yeah, another new media guy. Like, you know, he's out here reading.
Yes, he's out here, right? He's
legendary podcasting. Right.
I was gonna say he's been in the Spotify studios. He's like kind of knows what a Shure SM7B is. Like he's
dude. I worked for them, and I never even got into this podcast, the Spotify studios. It's unbelievable, unbelievable.
The last one's anticlimactic, but I was trying to think like, has Mark Cuban read the Swag Crisis?
Did Ock post it on Blue Sky?
Yeah, exactly. Or did Ock post it on the dick pic app that Mark Cuban made?
Cyberdust, I believe.
Cyberdust. That's right.
I forget which big time NBA reporter said it, but someone had this anecdote where it's like, if you want to, it's actually very easy to talk to Mark Cuban if you want. The catch is you have to download Cyberdust, and that's the only way he'll communicate with you, which I think is so funny.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you have to get it. You have to fit inside the spruce goose in order to gain an audience with them.
I could see Nico Harrison having read it because, in a way, it like maybe it provides this like sort of 10th brain panel justification for like the Luka trade in some way, where he was like, "We got to acquire players with aura."
Yeah. I think that's right. We have to build the whole plane out of Kyrie's aura. I mean, for better or for worse.
Okay. Well, we wanted to talk to you, Dan, not just because you're in a full Satoshi Nakamoto one piece that's lightly draped off you, but no, because you're freaking at the finals, covering the finals.
Right.
So what like? Can you give us like a scene report? What's going on?
Guys, I'm downtown Oklahoma. I'm not downtown Oklahoma City anymore. I'm downtown Indianapolis. The main thing that I've enjoyed is that as much as the national media, like myself, Coastal Elite, Fly, I've upbraided this and fly over state. There's the component of like everything is Manhattan a little bit, where you're like everywhere you go, there's like the coffee shop that has like the pour over cold brew with oat milk, and everywhere you go, you can get like a decent representation of the same kind of sandwich, which is a little bit of a bummer. Like that there's a little bit less. You're getting a look at like the dark heart of American homogenization. So there's some of that. the part where everybody talks about how this is basically like two college towns or two college team like playing each other. There's like a really nice version of that where people are legitimately fucking stoked, like really like, and not like the new sincerity, earnestness of not being ironically appreciative of like, it's really cool that the Thunder are here. It's really cool that the Pacers are here. Why are you not respecting them enough? And that's, gotten a fair amount of that, which has been good. And yeah, it does feel a little bit like, the series is kind of like bursting out of the frames of the two towns, which is fun. Like, Indiana's arena, they're like the press room that I was in for Pacers Knicks has now just been completely taken over by NBA communications staff. So they're just like shoving you into a loading dock and going like, this is where all the press conferences are now. Here's where like a bunch of black tables that you're just like, you go sit over here now. You're like, I'm kind of outside. And that happened in Denver too. There was literally like an outside tented area. So like there's where like certain areas are just not really super prepared for when everything dumps down on top of it. But that's kind of cool. It's a little bit charming. The Pacers and Thunder, I think, are, with the exception of Tyrese Haliburton, I think, are a little bit tired of talking to everybody as much as they have to talk to everybody. Rick Carlisle, I think, is really done talking to everybody. Whether you ask him about a basketball thing or like a big picture thing or how important is Tyrese Haliburton's, collectivist spirit to what you are trying to build, he is countenancing none of it. Yeah, he was asked earlier today about, there was that video of Tyrese limping a little bit, getting off the podium after game 2, and just asked a general, like, how is he feeling? Any more information on his status. And he was just like, well, I don't think anybody at this time of year is feeling great. How are you feeling? Are you feeling okay? And I'm like, wow, the level of just like disdain and saltiness is really emanating off of everybody at this point. So if this goes long, I don't know if we're just going to have like everybody chopping everybody's head off. I don't know if the vibes are going to turn around toward, broader collective enjoyment, but it's we're in a tenuous spot vibes wise, I feel like, at 1-1 heading into game 3.
That's all very interesting. And it's like neither of these teams have like been there before, but I guess the fact that they're already sick of it says less about their experience and more about just like what a grind this is, because like these guys have been answering versions of those questions for like 2 months now. And like, as someone who has asked questions in press conferences and stuff, like there really is like a hard limit on how much interesting information you can get, because I feel like there's this tension between wanting to ask a like very technical question about like, okay, when Chet sets like a screen at this angle, like how are you defending, yada, yada, yada. And it's like, they're not going to tell you. And so I feel like and maybe I want to sort of curious about your approach here. I feel like what I try to do is figure out what like the line of acceptable public information is, and then like walk as close to it as I possibly can.
Yeah. I mean, the answer in terms of my approach is that I'm not so good at it. So like I'll just kind of ask the basketball question I'm interested in sometimes. Like after game 2, I asked Chet, it seemed like you guys were setting the screens a little bit higher on the floor. What's the benefit of that? And he just sort of looked at me, or, I can't even say he looked at me because he had sunglasses on. I think he looked in my direction and then said like, I wouldn't say that was like a tactical thing, just where they happen to be set. And then you like look at the information. It's like, no, this was like absolutely the highest. You guys have done that all year. And there was a clear reason for it. And you watch it and there's why. But yeah, he's not going to tell me that. Right. Now, I mean, I don't know that him saying, oh yeah, we thought that would give them a little bit more runway would be some kind of mind-blowing chess match admission that then the Pacers would be able to go, see, this is what they're doing. Here's how we got to fix it. They told the guy. Like, I don't think it would be anything, it would be a revelation to Rick Carlisle or the guys who got screened further away. I think they probably would have felt that that's what happened. But yeah, I am trying as best I can to come out of these things with like something that I can write about. And I generally am writing more about the basketball stuff that's happening and trying to understand why something's happening. So I ask the questions about that. And then I try to ask as many people as possible some version of it. Like today I wanted to write about, I'm working on something on Pascal Siakam, and like they have had a difficult time getting him going in the context of relatively few post touches or paint touches as a team. And so you ask, like, what are the challenges of posting up switches? What are the challenges of getting the ball entered into the paint against the Thunder? Pascal, what kind of looks have they been giving you? Whatever, as much as you can, and then see if anybody answers anything. Comb through the transcripts in your tape and be like, are there four sentences that maybe work? And then be like, well, what they won't tell me is here's what's on the tape and here's what the numbers are. And then you got a blog post out of it and just hope for the best. It's not the most efficient system for getting a good article, but it's the one I've got.
There's a lot there. One, it's funny you said before we started that you hadn't read the doc, but the Chet quote is the exact quote I wanted to ask you.
Oh, no kidding.
Regarding your gamer, because I was rereading your gamer, and it's so funny because you outline this whole thing about how they're definitely strategically made a decision to set the screens higher. It's like obvious.
It's unambiguous.
And then you just ask him, and Chet's just like, not only is he like, no, he's like, that's a good question. I've never thought of it like that. Like,
interesting. I was thinking about where I was on the floor. I didn't even really realize there was a gigantic logo under my 2 feet. That's so wild. I thought they were just projecting that on the floor from the truck. So that's so wild that you noticed that.
Well, so I think my question is that normal for them to lie? Like, or, whatever, for them to not want to divulge that. Is it normal in the finals, but not normal in like the regular season? What like, does that always happen? And I'm just happen to be honing in on it today?
No, I think it's definitely, what's the right way to phrase this? I think that sometimes teams and players are just like, I think they are generally like cagier. Like they don't want to be anything that could potentially be perceived as discussing strategy and tactics in a way that could be divulging state secrets. They don't want to fall on the wrong side of that. I think that the teams get progressively cagier the further they go and the bigger the games are, and I can totally understand that. I do think though that's that's generally the common approach. Like I said, I was traveling with the Eastern Conference Finals, so like I was asking similar kinds of things of the Knicks and of the Pacers during that series. It also depends on setting. Like the Knicks would do, or a couple times did like off day Zooms instead of like a shoot around availability or whatever. And so if you have like a guy sitting in a room through the computer screen, he might be more likely to actually answer that question because it feels a little bit less like I'm in a one-on-one argument with you across a table, and it's or like on game day where I'm like, zero dark 2330 mode and I'm super locked in and I can't I'm in a war from the moment I step in the arena. So like it depends. And then there are like the coaches are really fascinating with that because like Tibbs will just sort of say, which also pouring out for my guy, but like he'll just kind of say the same 9 things over and over again, but like in different combinations without generally giving you the insight into what they're doing. But it sounds basketball-y enough that you can kind of often cobble together a quote for a story. Mark Daigneault he speaks in like full paragraphs that as you're listening to it, you're like, this is awesome. He's like writing half the story for me. And then you look at it and you're like, there's not a goddamn usable thing in there because he has been like jujitsuing his way around the discussion for so much of it. He's said like 4 times in the last 3 days that the Pacers are more of a conceptual team. So you have to defend them conceptually. And I was like, no, you have to defend them physically and literally. Like, so how are you doing it? But yeah, he won't tell me that. And then Rick Carlisle's response to most of these things is like, I don't care for your tone. You're being glib, Matt. It's a little bit. So all of which is a long way of saying, I think it is more common to say, I don't want to divulge that information, but how players and coaches arrive at it tends to differ.
That's really interesting. And I almost wonder like, why they don't lie more. I guess they just don't want to have a bad relationship with you guys, but it'd be very fun to imagine Chet being like, oh no, we actually tried to set the screens like 4 feet away from the hoop, but then like Shai just called me up and like just something that like obviously the Pacers coaching staff knows that's not true or whatever.
Yeah,
but
1000%.
To sort of transition us into basketball stuff, I did want to ask, I'm an Aaron Wiggins stan. I like took my affinity for him public on Defector yesterday, and you said something interesting that he was a good quote. So I'm going to ask you a very wide-ranging Aaron Wiggins question, which is like, what was interesting about his Game 2 performance, and what made him like a more interesting person to talk to?
Well, so an important thing is that I was kidding. He was not that. I mean, he was a perfectly fine quote, but I think I had said, he was an electric quote, but it was a little bit more like, yeah. Aaron, throughout your career, you've always talked about being ready no matter what role you're put in. What was it like to have this performance? Yeah, it was cool. Just tried to go out there, contribute to the team, help put us in a position to win, that kind of stuff. So like, it's a little more of that. He's Thunder U. Like he seems to be central casting for what they wanted to put out. I had asked him about, what it was like. He was out there during a 19-2 run that kind of tilted Game 2. And he was like, and I asked him, what does it feel like when you're in the middle of that? And I don't know what I'm hoping to get out of that. Like, it feels like I'm talking to God, but like he said, like, feels great. It's kind of like, you're not going to get the most, soul scraping revelations in those moments. So I apologize for lying to you and saying, I didn't know where the screens were being set. That wasn't
using
cool
my
of me.
tactics against me.
It was brutal of me to do that to you. But what I made of him in Game 2, like it's like this is not a great analogy, but it's the one that's in my brain, so we'll go with it. Like it's almost like a liquid that takes the form of whatever container it's in. Like they asked him in that game to be like, you need to be bigger than Isaiah Joe and AJ Mitchell. And he's like, got it, I am. And they're like, also, you need to be ready to shoot immediately if, they collapse on Shai and he kicks it. Because in Game 1, Shai was kind of having to go up with it a little bit more often. So I think that's how you wind up with 30 field goal attempts for Shai. And that's not the way they want to be going, where it's like overwhelming usage. They want to spread it out a little bit more than that. And so he's like, cool, like I'm 4 feet behind the line. I get the catch. I'm shooting it. Like, or I have Haliburton on me. I am saucing him up and attacking. Like the lack of a governor there's no record scratching. There's no waiting. And that is like super valuable, especially in this context, because if you the openings are small, I think people think of the Pacers as not a particularly good defensive team because they're still kind of working off of last year's priors, but they've been like a top 10 defense for 6 months basically. So the openings are small. Those guys are really physical when they close out. Even Haliburton, he's not a super strong player, but he's long. He gets his arms up to deflect passes and stuff like that. You got to go right away because the openings close quickly. And I think that Wiggins was just sort of immediately ready to go was super valuable and super important. And the fact that I think one of the things that everybody commended him for was your minutes can be, really inconsistent. Your role can kind of vary. The opportunities you get, where the shots are coming from, that's not always consistent. And that can really mess with guys. And he seems to be completely okay with it. And just able to perform, hit 0 to 60 immediately, and that's whether he does that for the next 2 weeks, I have no idea. But doing it once was gigantic for them because they had such a hard time getting everybody else up to speed in Game 1. Him being immediately able to hit the ground running was super valuable for them.
That's that all totally makes sense, and I feel like that's sort of gets at the heart of what makes the Thunder special to me. They kind of, to me, they don't really play almost any other team that I've seen. And the defense is the thing that makes them special. But I think this series basically comes down to if they have a remotely normal offensive performance, they win. And Wiggins to me kind of exemplifies the other thing that makes them special, which is their depth, where it's if you imagine if Aaron Wiggins is on the Hawks or something, we're thinking about him as can he be a load-bearing starter for a good team? Can he really be your fourth best player? Because he's so good at all this shit, but then he's basically put in a context where his weaknesses matter. It really comes down to can you basically be bigger and not really have these problems, the very few problems that he does. But what I like about him on the Thunder is he's only ever in a role where he has a simple job and is very good at, I guess, succeeding at it, to use a crazy sentence. But he can do moves. He can approximate 70% of a best player in a really cool way. And I just love watching like the Thunder's offense is kind of simple in a way, but I love watching how like if you are just someone who's like Wallace or Jalen Williams with an I or Aaron Wiggins, then it's like if you're just like decisive and smart, you can do stuff like at a really effective level.
Absolutely. And it's, like it was a slip of the tongue, but like it does feel a little bit like when Andrew Wiggins got to Golden State and it was like, don't do any of the shit you're not good at, only do the stuff you're good at. And you're going to be an all-star. You're going to be awesome. And there's a little bit of that with everybody, like Alex Caruso, you're going to play 15 minutes a game all year because you can't stop yourself. So we are going to stop you from, hurting yourself. And then like, it'll be Hulk smash when we need you to do it. And, but like specifically in this thing, you can go 1,000 miles per hour because we only need you for this many minutes because we got 10 other guys that can do stuff. Case and Wallace. Yeah. Okay. You are still sort of learning how to run a team. You're still learning how to contribute offensively, but you're immediately awesome at ball pressure and tracking guys around screens and all those sorts of things. Cool. You're going to do that right away. And also you're going to learn from Dort and Caruso how to navigate those things at the NBA level, like at an elite level. Chet, you can still get pushed around a little bit. Okay, well, we're going to have you facing up a lot. You'll be able to screen and roll and dive when there's no bigs there, or no other big there. When Hartenstein's in there, you can kind of like stay in the dunker and just lurk for lobs, or you can space the floor. Like everybody is used to the best application of their abilities. And I think to some degree that's Degno has a great handle for what guys do well and how to get the most out of them. To some degree, it's that Sam Presti got a ton of guys who do a ton of things very well. But also, I mean, so much of it just comes back to you have, what was the thing that Carlisle said the other day? Like Shai you can pencil Shai in for 34 before he gets on the plane. Like if you put in that big rock every night in the middle, and then you can fill in with the pebbles in the sand around it because that's there all the time. A level of consistency and availability and production and all that stuff that allows everybody else to find their level. And it's like, that's been one of the interesting things to watch more close up is like, obviously very stylistically, and aesthetically, he and Haliburton are very different players. And like, I don't know that necessarily, I mean, there's the statistics of like the Pacers record is dramatically better when Haliburton scores 20 or more, but the offense operates so much more based on like what his speed creates for everybody else. And with Shai, it is metronomic. It is like it is always going to be here. And as a result of that, everybody else knows where their shots are coming from and in what role they need to get them. And they've figured this out over the course of 100 games to be like a fucking war machine.
So I agree. All of that seems right. And I think especially my sense is when you are in a limited role, it really helps when you at least know the types of shots you're going to get. You at least know that like it's going to be, Shai usually does this, he usually does this, whatever. Like the opposite. And I'm thinking about it is something that Steph Curry, who has had a lot of depth issues and a lot of like you never know what you're going to get out of Moses Moody or whoever. And in part, it's because with Steph, you don't know if you're going to need to set 5 screens and then slip, or if you don't know if you're going to have to do this, and it just takes a different player. But I want to not play like devil's advocate because I don't think it's quite that, but I want to put on my hater hat for a second.
Sure.
Please.
Not for me, but I do think there's a sense of people looking at the cohort of this deep OKC team, the basically Wiggins, Cason Wallace, Isaiah Joe, Caruso to some extent, and kind of am like, yeah, they just got like 4 of the same guy. Like he's long and he can run around, and like that is cool that they are able to keep the press up. But there's other than the fact that it's like this nonstop pressure that it puts on you. There's nothing actually compelling about any individual player within that second unit. And so I'm interested in Patrick, especially your love of Aaron Wiggins, because it sounds like you would say no if you are actually looking at the tape or whatever. If you're actually like painting with a fine whatever, you get what I'm saying. You'll see that Andrew Wiggins has a lot more to his game. So like, what are the things he's bringing that like separate him from the rest of the bench mob?
There's this one play in, I think it was the second quarter when Wiggins gets like a kick out to the line, and Pascal just closes like super turbo mega hard because I think he'd hit a step back on Haliburton from the other wing earlier.
Yep.
And Wiggins just like catches it and just fucking goes at him. And Siakam is like with him step for step, and they jump at the same time. Pascal gets this great contest, and Wiggins just like contorts his body and kind of like uses his off shoulder and shoots it like behind his head. And it's just this like, it's such a cool finish. And when you think about like, okay, a seventh man whose job it is to like attack closeouts, usually that's like like in the sense that you bring everything back to Steph as like a good example, I bring things back to the Kings as busted. Like someone like Zach LaVine is just capable of like running in a straight line and like jumping high. Like there's no like craft there. And I watch someone like Wiggins and I'm like, this guy has like moves. Like he's fun to watch. And he just the fact that he does cool stuff for 15 minutes. And he's sort of like the offensive version of Caruso to me, where it's like there is so much more. And I think I like seeing the glimpses like that. And maybe it's like the sort of fundamental unpredictability of it that I sort of enjoy. Like I do like them as this like pastiche. Like he didn't even play in game 4 of the Wolves series, which was the best game because there wasn't like a place for him. And I don't know. Does that make sense? Like, I think it's just that he's cool to watch. Like he does cool stuff.
I think that's right. And it's also like he's a great emblem of these guys or many of these guys are so good that if, when the governor's taken off, when the opportunity arrives, like he scored 30 or more 3 times this season. He had a 41-point game this season. Like,
don't look up who it was against.
I won't. We'll leave that as a blind item for the listeners. But yeah, like, and I think that's like the special thing. And this is maybe, I think it's maybe goes to Harry's point about them being, you can view them as sort of anodyne or antiseptic or whatever. But like, if you would imagine that somebody who is good enough to do that, to be like, I can take an all-star off the dribble and finish through him at the rim, or I can, go at this guy who has like all these clutch, amazing clutch shots, and I can just like, but I'm taking this guy, like, and who has hung 40 in the league, being given the answer of like, you're going to play 9 minutes and you're mostly just going to like switch screens and then move the ball.
Right.
Being like, fuck that. I'm really good. Did you see me do all those other things? But all of these guys, or to the outward appearances and based on the things that they're saying, it seems like they all kind of get it. And like whether maybe some of that is just a level of Shai is the man to a degree that everybody is like, well, yeah, everybody falls in line behind that. Some of it is like guys, like Lou Dort got paid, right? And he got paid for playing defense. Alex Caruso got paid for playing defense. Not everybody is in that spot, but like those, I think the understudies, for lack of a better term, like the second unit, the guys that are going to grow into those roles theoretically, are looking at it and saying, I understand my place in the hierarchy. I understand the pathway to success. I understand the pathway to money doing some of these things too. Like Wiggins got extended this offseason. Isaiah Joe got extended this offseason, not for, monster money, but like these are guys that were, I think Wiggins was like the 55th pick in the draft. Isaiah Joe was undrafted, I think. I might be wrong about that. But like are on...
Former 76er.
That's right.
They used him.
But are like on real NBA contracts by virtue of their ability to like get with and stick with this program. And so like everybody, like when you have guys where it's like, if you peel back more, there's more to be gained from them. That's pretty incredible. And, but to have all of them understand that sublimating for this greater good has been useful and like it actually gets everybody closer to where you win and get paid, seems like it's a recipe for success for them.
We need if Tyrese Haliburton was really committed to winning, he would like go on a podcast all of a sudden. Like he'd go on with Bobby Marks and he'd be like, like the second apron, it's like not all these guys are getting paid. Like I need to see a little bit more bag work from Kason Wallace if he wants to be the Charlotte Hornets backup point guard next year. Like I'm not sure he's yeah.
Can I make what's the context we're in? It feels like it would make sense. After watching I Think You Should Leave, I keep thinking of Bobby Marks as a Tim Robinson character. And I don't know if that's right or fair but like it feels right listening to him sometimes. And like, I don't know where to put that thought, but this feels like the right receptacle for it.
Absolutely right. Wow. Now that you've said it, I'm not going to be able to unhear that.
Yeah, it's like a bell that you can't unring.
Yeah, I do sort of miss Bobby's presence in these finals. Just nothing like. I mean, I've made this joke before. You know how it goes. The low post. What's the guy's number? Yada yada yada. You brought up Haliburton, and can I? There's something about the Pacers that makes me feel like crazy.
Okay.
Like I watch them just trail by 17 the entire game and just think like, oh, fuck, like here it's coming again. Like the second that lead reaches 20, it's like, oh God damn it, not again. And I watch like the game against the Knicks, the bouncing shot, the Neesmith one.
Yep, game one.
You watch something like that happen and you know that it is like fundamentally irrational. You know that like nothing they're doing is like in any sort of application of basketball principles, it's just like 100 impossible things happening all next to each other. And then you see that happen in like every single game one they've played. And just over and over again. And the mental tension that it takes to kind of square the fact that none of this should be happening, that it's all totally irrational and yet continues to, and therefore there's like something going on, that is like breaking my brain. Like I find them faintly demonic just because they're totally inexplicable.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. Watching that at the Garden was insane. It felt like the beginning stages of like a disaster movie, because I had come down. I was one of the people that came in for a criticism from Zach Lowe, coming down from the Sky Bridge up there to get down, and I'm walking on the concourse, so you're going past like all the eateries, like the Katz's Deli and whatever, or Carnegie Deli rather, and like seeing on the TV screens as I'm walking by like another Neesmith 3, another Neesmith 3, another Neesmith 3, like as it's happening, as I'm walking over to the press room. By the time you get there, it's like, holy shit, did you see this? The only thing that has helped square it in my brain is that the thing that they have that is just like that makes it less luck is that these guys are fucking incredible shot makers. Like Aaron Neesmith has become somebody that can like through like on the move on a dead sprint through contact rattle in a 26 footer. And like that was not in his game a few years ago, but it is now. And Haliburton, as janky as the shot can look sometimes, like he is whether it's tightly contested, he's pulling up, he's veering one way or the other, he's on the move. That's a shot maker. Like Miles Turner, you feel pretty good when the pick and pop goes to his hands. Siakam, like one of the relatively few legit 3-level scorers in the league, like where he has become, I think since he got to Indianapolis and his role kind of got curtailed a little bit, but also playing in better spacing, like his 3-point shot has gone through the roof. So I don't know if it's like, there's not the Chip Engelland, Fred Vinson shot doctor kind of thing that or at least I haven't read that story. I don't know if somebody in the Indiana media has written it, but like they've got a ton of guys that have like really are like nails shot makers. And if you have that, that's like you're rolling, you're not just like rolling one or one dice, you're like rolling for like there's a 3D20 for damage or whatever. Like there's more opportunities because you've loaded the dice with that shot making. So that's the only way it makes sense to me. But even so, like I was in Oklahoma City for game 1, and all of the fans that were down like right below press row were sort of like, we're fine. And I'm like, you're not fine. You're so not fine. Like I've watched this now. You guys are in danger. And then to see it actually happen, I was walking down and then went out. There were only a couple of people from like Indiana media that were right where I was, but going out. And they were like, we have to write this story. Like, it's also great to complain about that. Like, we got to write this story again, about like the most insane thing you've ever seen happen 4 times in one playoff. It's anything can become your pain in the ass job, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Like that. I guess you are right that like they are good shot makers and like they just continue to put themselves in these like correct positions. But someone like Andrew Nemhard, I think this is like a Nate Duncan stat, that he made like 10 step back or off the dribble threes like all regular season and has made like 12. Like there was the moment I knew that the Thunder were cooked in game one was when Nemhard just kind of briefly like he like turned into Allen Iverson for like 10 seconds and just went like,
God,
tween, and just like banged it right in his face. I just thought like, this is kind of over. And I'm almost tempted. I know this is wrong, to sort of frame this as a like Thunder have a higher floor, Pacers have a higher ceiling. But I guess that sort of relies on you like rationalizing like divine or demonic intervention as this like operational force in the series.
I mean, listen, it's as good an explanation as any. But I think that's right. Like the fundamentals of the matchup have not changed, right? Like the way we understood the dynamics of these two teams remains the same, such that like I think the Pacers have scored through 2 games like a bottom 4 offense and have led for like 0.8 seconds or whatever and are at 1-1. And like the only way to understand that is through over indexing on shot making like I have, or ascribing it to a higher power or a lower power. I don't know. But I think, like like you can feel pretty confident in the level, just general level that you're going to get from the Thunder. But the Pacers can, it's the Jared Wade, former Pacers blogger and writer for years. And the way he described the difference between Steph and KD was that KD will put 8 points per quarter on you until the heat death of the universe. And Steph in 13 seconds will have you questioning why you ever picked up a ball to play this game, because, oh my God, if something like this is possible, what else could be possible in the universe? And so like that's the Thunder are a little bit the 8 points a quarter, and the Pacers with their shot making, it's a little more like Steph redefining what's possible. So, it's also it doesn't have the same kind of panache, I guess, maybe as Steph all the time, but when it's happening, it's like, holy shit, I've never seen anything quite like this, except that I've seen it 4 times in the last month and a half.
Yeah. Patrick, something we haven't discussed, maybe because you don't want to even kind of talk about it with yourself, even in your quietest moments, is Haliburton was on the Sacramento Kings.
Interesting.
It's true.
What are you like happy for him? Are you doubling down on the old man and the 3 podcast correspondent angle? Like where do you fall? It sounds like, okay,
I like Haliburton. I first found out about him at the Gold Star beer counter near Grand Army Plaza in Brooklyn from getting Nathan and Seth Rosenthal. We were talking about the 2020 draft, and I was like, who are the guys? And they were like, oh man, there's this little skinny guy, Haliburton, who's just like genius passagios every play. And then I got into him and thought, well, the Kings, borderline, I guess I don't think they had the play in then, but 8-9 seed team, right, probably not going to be around to pick him. I've always loved watching him play. There's this one play I remember from a game against the Celtics in Haliburton's rookie year where I think one of the Celtics guys airballs a 3 or something, and the second Haliburton sees it not miss the rim, he sprints to the top of the key because he knows that Horford is going to grab it and just toss it there. And it's he understands where the ball is going to go 5 seconds before anyone else even knows that there's going to be a pass. And that is stuck in my brain. I mean, he's just such a genius passer, and someone that cool. I mean, his game is so cool. The fact that he never turns it over, it's kind of shocking, even against Lou Dort. And I think if the Kings were a more normal team and I was allowed to sort of have expectations, I would probably not like him. But I think that's a little too uppity and sort of fundamentally misunderstands what the Kings are, which is not really an NBA org. So with someone like Buddy Hield, playing out of his mind for the Warriors, or Haliburton leading his team to the NBA Finals, I'm ultimately just very happy for them because they came into the league with circumstances to overcome, and Haliburton, to his discredit, wanted to stay a King. But the fact that they've achieved despite being drafted by the Kings, I find sort of beautiful. And I think, so many Kings fans are now just freaking out about the trade. And I remember 2 years ago when everyone declared it a win-win, really presumptively, despite the fact that Haliburton was like 6 years younger than him, that felt like everyone's just trying to get this out of the way because they know kind of what's coming. So ultimately, like, I'm happy for him. I do find myself like kind of unable to root for the Pacers of it all. Like, I think if he was on like a cooler team, or I don't know, like I think I would be able to like transmute my enjoyment of him into like a fondness for his team. But ultimately, like, yeah, I'm happy for him. I hope he doesn't win the finals this year, but I can't hate them.
I will say the general, like, the tenor of this Pacers team is pretty, like, they are, I don't know, like, maybe not, they're not the most aesthetically cool team, but like, this is not like, I've enjoyed watching them and listening to them. It's a lot of guys that are like, they can honestly be like, we have been overlooked and left for dead, you know, in our careers, you know, like, it's a lot of guys that can legitimately say, like, Miles Turner has been traded God knows how many times in people's columns, right, for the last decade. He came to Indianapolis at 19 with like and he ran awkwardly, and they needed to fix his gait out of Texas, and like has survived the various iterations of Pacerdom to get to this place.
He asked the Lakers to trade for him. He was on the Woj pod, and he made the case for why he was a good guy to join the Lakers like 2 years ago or something.
Yeah. And so like, and has, but you know, stuck it out and came out the other side with like the perfect point guard to set him up in the pick and pop. Right. And like, there's, you know, you find Nembhard at the beginning of the second round. You find, Nesmith kind of on the scrap pile from the Celtics. Like there's a lot of guys where they've been able to kind of coalesce an identity. And I don't know. I mean, I think your mileage may vary on the argument of like, this and the Thunder are the blueprint for the future, where you need that depth and you need not so many people making gigantic money, and you need to spread it out more efficiently, and you need more guys that can shoot and more guys that can defend multiple positions. Like, it's none of that is like revolutionary rocket science ideas. It's maybe more just like the coalescing of a few of those trends all in one spot, while also working under new math where the contracts haven't like all ballooned yet. And we'll have to, we would have to see what happens when a number of these guys all need bigger extensions, but that's not where these guys are now. And like, all of it is, I think your general point about the Pacers and the way they operate is right. Like, it all flows from Haliburton. If not for his game being as cool as it is, and specifically in the ways that it is cool, this offense, like, Rick Carlisle wouldn't get to keep telling everybody that the Pacers are an ecosystem. The Pacers are an ecosystem because of Tyrese Haliburton. Like, he is, you know, whatever, he has terraformed them that way or whatever, like, because no other point guard operates quite like that. And so as a result of the way he operates and the way everybody else has found the ways to operate around him, this whole thing has sort of sprung up. And like, the combination of the pace, the combination of the players that fit best around him and the way they play defensively, the combination of the shooting, all those things together has made them the kind of team that like they can run away from a game, and then they can also like, they're never fully out of it. Like your point about game two, or you know, it's not again, and it's gonna. I didn't believe game two was over until like the last minute. Yeah. I was like, yeah, no, they can absolutely hit 5 more threes in the next 5 possessions, and you know, we're right back in it.
I tell you that point, I texted one of my buddies who was at game 2, and he said the crowd felt like that. He said that there was like legit nervousness in the crowd up 20.
Absolutely. No one was willing to be like, haha, finally. You know, everyone was like, oh my God.
It's happening again.
To the point too about them moving fast and this actually being good is like clockwork, you can tell a team is going to win like 33 games in a season when they come out of training camp being like, yeah, this year we're going to play fast. We're going to try to get up and down the court, read and react. It's like, oh, okay, you guys are bad. But the Pacers this time have figured it out. It's incredible.
That is so true. And now that it's like draft season, like I got the Sam Vecini PDF open in another tab right now. Anytime you see a guy is like good in transition, that to me is kind of a red flag. It's like, oh no, it's like they don't know what to do in the half court, and they're just kind of. But then I watch someone like Pascal Siakam, And I was trying to explain to someone who like doesn't watch a lot of basketball what makes him special. And the answer, which I kind of hate that I landed on, was like, he just knows when to run really fast and he's good at it. And like, especially against the Knicks, who were just kind of old and slow and like a little creaky, just like they got like 10 points a game because he would just sprint down the court and someone would throw him the ball. Like, it's so simple.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you pointed that out as a legit explanation for why he's good. It's something that Rick Carlisle said. I forget, maybe it was after game 2 when he had 39, I think. But it was like sort of applauding his game and complimenting what he had done. And there was a point where he just sort of stopped in the middle of saying, and then the 3 level or whatever. He's like, he ran great. And just like the way he emphasized ran. And I was like, that's a weird, it sounded in the moment like a weird compliment, but then you watch him and you're like, yeah, that is not something that everyone does. It has a great sense of when. Like, I don't know too much about soccer, but like the idea that there are some guys who know like when to time their run into open space to be able to like make themselves a target. And that not everybody has that sense. He super has that sense. And then also like the understanding of if I do this constantly, they are going to have to account for me and they're going to fuck up. Which is the other thing that the Pacers have been, or that you sort of see over and over again with them. It's the consistency with which they play at that tempo, full court or half court, forces teams to make decisions over and over again. And like, that's such an old coach thing, like make the defender make a decision. Chances are he's going to make a mistake. And like you amortize that over 110 possessions or whatever. And they just, you give them so many chances to blink. And a lot of teams even good teams are going to do it. I think what makes the Thunder, potentially kryptonite for this matchup is like, they're used to doing that and making those decisions fast. And like that puts, they're not blinking. They blinked they blinked a little bit at the end of game 1, but by and large they have not. And if they're able to continue that, then like the general pre-series read on the nature of the matchup might wind up coming true just like a little bit later than everybody thought.
Yeah, I feel like it was remarkable in the week leading up to the series that like, not that everyone was picking OKC in 5, but that everyone in picking OKC in 5 said like, this is the only rational pick you can have unless you're picking Indiana in 7 because you just believe in chaos theory. Like I feel like there was more consensus than usual this year.
I think you're right about that. I middled it and said Thunder in 6, but not as a logical. I was like, well, Rick Carlisle is going to do some Warlock shit that gets him a game, and then they're going to hit 25 threes in 1. And so like I was like, those are the 2 that they'll get, and then the invisible hand of the market will handle the rest of it.
Before we get you out of here, Dan, I wanted to ask you about your gamer because
okay.
I read your piece and it got me thinking about the way the gamer has changed. And for the gamer, for people who don't know, the gamer is like how you break down an article that you publish after a game that comes out. Usually whatever used to be the next day. Now it's like fucking 5 seconds after you make it. But your piece in this one, 500 word piece, you linked to like 7 different thinkers, tweets embedded about certain things, all this stuff. And it got me thinking about how your specific gamer was almost more of like a curation and distillation of the basketball thinking out there. That it used to be, you would read the gamer because it was like, I need to know what happened, like
sure.
what literally happened. But your piece does some of that, but is also like, or your piece that was also like, here are what I have combed through the like fire hose of information about this game, the 10 million data points, the actual watching the game, my own perspective, and I'm going to like pull and curate the like actual pieces of compelling data for you, the reader. And it just struck me as like a very smart way to zag, or I don't know zag, but like to recreate the gamer. And
thank you.
My question is like, is that at all something you're thinking about actively, or were you just like, oh, I wrote this piece? Like,
no, it's a really good question. I guess I would say, some of it is like insecurity. Like these like other people are smarter than me and have better observations than me, so I should probably use those. And then shame if I use them without citing them, then that would be unethical and not cool.
I see it so much more as the skill these days is figuring out what to pay attention to, not
sure.
Like, whatever.
I think that's right. I think so. Like, I mean, I'm trying to distill as much information as I can, as digestibly as I can. And so some of that is like, I'm taking notes, like running notes while I'm watching the game, like, 11:33 Shai J-Dub pick and roll switch, whatever, so that I can like go back and try to like grab video when it's applicable. I'm looking at, and then like sometimes like I know the people who are grabbing video very often. It's like your Steve Jones and your Nikias and your Mo Dakhil and some other people, that I'm like, or different like highlight feeds, and you're like, then I'm like looking through there so I can like pick those tweets to be able to embed. I'm trying to. I also know if I'm watching the game live, I'm not watching the broadcast. So like, I'm not sure what the commentary is from there, but like other people from home might have a completely different perspective on what's been going on in the game than I do from where I'm sitting. So I'm trying to like keep abreast of that. And then when it gets to after the game, like I've got an assignment, right? So like after both games, I've wound up writing Thunder. And so like I'm in their pressers. I know what the general angle I've got is and what I'm expected to produce. I got to ask questions to that end, not necessarily to like get the quote that fits in the hole like an more sort of old school beat journalist, but I know that I've got to kind of try to angle things in that direction. So there is live reporting. There is that sort of curation that you're talking about. There is like I'm following the game on Twitter or on social media while I'm watching and trying to pull all that together. And then, using whatever video I can or advanced stats or like trying to coalesce all these different things. I never really have thought about it as a different form of it, but I guess it does show up differently because I'm able to use media that like the beat reporters at the Post weren't able to use, right? So like I'm able to put something different on the website that has more inputs. And I don't know. I feel like from the start of doing this as like a blogger at Ball Don't Lie a million years ago, like the job was to kind of like, if you read something cool, share it and like if you're aggregating somebody else's work, add something of value to it, not just, put their thing in there and say, this is cool. So like, I feel like maybe that's just a natural outgrowth of it. Like now that I'm doing more reporting and deadline journalism, but that's still where I come from. And that's still the way that I view all this stuff. So maybe there's sort of a synthesis of those thought processes in it. I don't know, but I will be in the moment. All I'm thinking of is fuck, I have an hour, right? Like, so how can I get as much of this as possible in there? And also God bless you for saying in that 500 word piece, I haven't filed something 500 words in probably a decade. And every editor that I've ever had is just like spit on the ground to hear you say 500 words. They're like, no, if we could only get him to do that once in a while, God forbid. But anyway, that you read it at all is cool, and B, that you think that there's something to it is really neat. So thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, you're one of the original basketbloggers, and what you're describing here is like this beautiful process of basketblogging, and I like how much like, the reading and sharing, that's like why I got into it. So thank you for doing what you do, and keep it rocking.
Oh my God. Thank you so much, everybody. Also in the doc, I do see Oklahoma City's sneaky lime scooters everywhere. City, dude. Everywhere. I almost got hit like twice. And then Indianapolis, not as many, but also not zero. Still plenty of them around here. So you keep your head on a swivel. If you're out here covering the finals or watching these games, keep your head on a swivel. You don't know where these people are coming from.
It's a strange thing.
Okay. Not a Waymo series, a Lime series.
That's right. Yes.
The NBA fucking Adam Silver wants it to be a Waymo series, but
now we're talking.
All right. Okay.
That is Kevin Martin at his spectacular best. Body control, quickness, speed. He's got it all. The Zanesville Zapper got through there.
All right. That was Dan Devine. Thank you, Dan, for joining the show. We're doing a little extra because we want to do a little Valkyries talk because Patrick, we've both been to Valks games recently. I went to the Valkyries, almost beat the Liberty, and
that's a good game,
and kind of like Well, whatever. It was a great game. Yeah, they really like a game they shouldn't have even been in based on like the skill level and pedigree of the Liberty, but they were. And then maybe the seed of what was to come, which was they fucking beat the brakes off the Aces.
Dude, they like kicked the shit out of them. And
what did that look like? Like, what was it from the jump? Because
it was.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go.
I was surprised. Like you and I have kind of talked about this, and like everyone in the Bay Area has just become a Valkyries fan. Like the energy around them is just like is so great. And I've been going around telling everyone like, yeah, it's fun, but like they're not going to win any games. Like expansion teams never win games, but like this team is not bullshit. And like they just seem. My main top line thing, and I'm curious to hear your sort of perspective on this, is like they seem so well coached. Like the rotate. I mean, a bunch of people are leaving for Eurobasket, but like the rotation's 10 deep with like good players, and Nakase is just like has them like toggling all around. Like she'll go small, she'll go kind of big, and like they just like I think they just kind of overwhelm teams with their like depth and cohesion. Like they're almost, it's like not Thundery or Pacersy, but like it really is like a variety and intensity kind of thing. And they're 4-5 now. Like that's as many games as the last expansion team won in their entire season.
Yeah, it was really interesting seeing the Liberty because there's such a contrast there where like the Liberty, like Stewie is going to get her shots. You know, like they're looking for Stewie. The offense revolves around Stewie, especially. I mean, it revolves around Ionescu as well, but because Stewie is like big, it ends up being a little bit more of like an offensive hub in the way where Ionescu is. And the Valkyries, and I think this bites them in the butt when it's like not crunching time or whatever, and they don't have like a go-to person. But the Valkyries are you have no idea where they're gonna get their offense from, which is a little like troubling because it's like, well, who the fuck is gonna shoot? Yeah. But it is extremely democratic.
It's like DeFi basketball, you know.
Fuck.
I mean, this is the Waymo series. Like,
yeah,
fucking hell.
But no, like, it is.
Like I become a Veronica Burton fan. She shoots 36% from the field this year, which is a career high, which is like not super great. But like, she's kind of like if Pat Bev went to therapy, just like a total dog defender. Like she was picking up Jewel Lloyd and Jackie Young like full court in the Aces game, and just like pressuring the shit out of them. And so every Aces offensive possession was just already just kind of like harried, and you could see them like just confused, like having to react instead of like impose their will. Like she's fun. Thornton is fun. She's just like big, can finish, like shoots pretty well. I think my favorite player is sort of similar to your fave is Carla Light, or Late. I forget which one you pronounce it as, but she's like French point guard, pretty athletic, like smart player. Like she had a really good floater. I think it was the last bucket of regulation in the Sparks win yesterday, but like she didn't play in the Aces game and then put up 15. And I think it's like Nakase's, I think they've played the most lineups in the league this year. And
that's it. I was curious, like, cause it does seem like they play, it seems like they don't know who their best five are in a way that's maybe a compliment. Like they are just like all over who's starting, who's not, you know, that's normally a bad sign because it's like you're whatever, but they seem to be, I agree. Like there's a certain kind of like plug and play element where like they can just sub people in similar types of roles and just keep going.
Yeah. And it's like, that's a fun type of basketball to root for. And like, I've been to a couple of games at Chase, and this was like, it was a crazy atmosphere. It was so fun.
I want to hear about the atmosphere. One final thing about the thing is when I was talking to, or maybe this is a podcaster producer's dilemma, is I forget if this is something that Sue Bird said to me personally or something she said on a podcast that I listened to. So I have like digital induced schizophrenia, but she was saying that she predicted that the Valks were going to play extremely fast because of the Euro ball nature of it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like if you get all these Euro basket players, all they want to do is run and make quick decisions and ping the ball around. And both Carla Late and Julie Van Lunatic are just, that's exactly what they want to do. They want to like ding the ball as fast as possible.
I love Van Loo. First play of the game yesterday, she throws like the worst entry pass I've ever seen. And then I was tracking this because I was going to keep texting you because I know she's your fave. But then like she had 3 or 4 of like the sickest passes you'll see all year in the second quarter. Like she's fun. She's one of, I think, 6 French speakers on the team, which is like that Eurobasket is going to destroy this team. But
I didn't even, I didn't realize. I saw like, Van Loo's out with her Belgian squad, I believe.
Yeah, Zendalicini left. And the person they picked 5th in the draft this year, like, I think she's been to San Francisco, but like just totally isn't going to play at all this season, the Lithuanian lady. So, I mean, also like as my 3 Anantharman has written for us, almost everyone in the league will be a free agent this offseason.
I know, it's going to be weird.
And like there's going to be the new CBA is going to just totally turbo juice everyone's salaries. So if you're like the Liberty or the Ace, like a good team right now, you're probably freaking out because you basically have to build a whole new team on the fly. Mm-hmm. And if you're an expansion team who's just like showing off to the whole league, like we can bring 18,000 fans in no matter who's on the team. You'll be a local celeb, like the energy will pop and you get to live in the Bay Area. Like that's a pretty good sell, I gotta say.
That's a really good point. Yeah. No, you're totally right in this time where still, and I think, I was going to say hope, but basically it's past hope. I think / no, this is going to happen, which is like the teams are going to invest a ton more money in making their organization be top notch. And it's going to start looking like really like 90s Clippers if you're not doing it. You're going to be looking like a fool if you aren't. And as that continues all the way down, because there's so many places you can win. One of the small ones I've seen, I won't throw specific names, but the social media, the activity of the social media of the Valkyries compared to some other teams is just like a night and day. And like that's important. Like when I say social media, I guess I just mean like the marketing PR apparatus in general that I'm just like interacting. But like you want to play for a team that cares about that stuff.
Yeah, if you're choosing between playing for the Connecticut Sun, who play in like a casino, and there isn't an international airport in the city they play in, and it's like the 2,000 capacity arena or whatever, or like play where the Warriors play with this like crazy. I mean, like everyone's doing this. Like the Mercury just spent $100 million on a practice facility. Like the Storm spent 65. And like the new owners coming in have had to pay these big expansion fees, and that's going to make it the competition even fiercer. And I guess like you said, like if you're the 90s Clippers, like you're not going to be able to hang.
No,
because everyone's going to get used to this higher standard. Oh, sorry. What were you saying?
I said, what was Chase Center like? Because I have not been to a Valks game.
I mean, it's such.
I have a spicy critique of the Liberty arena afterwards.
I've been to some Libs games actually, so I want to hear that, having familiarized myself with the experience. What do you got?
Okay, I'll go first.
Yeah, you intrigued me.
Too much, Ellie the elephant. Way too much. I like the elephant. I think the elephant is great.
I think the elephant is great.
I like that she dances. I think she's great. It's way too much. The Liberty had a happy birthday Ellie the elephant themed game.
The whole game?
That was one of the attractions. Too much Ellie.
It is a lot of Ellie. Like I've noticed that maybe it's because I've been to a lot of like noon starts, but like a lot of kids at both games, and like they lose their mind when Ellie starts throwing ass. They just like lose their minds. It's like they see like a celebrity for babies, But there is, I do agree. Like there's a lot of Ellie in the monitors.
Have I ever told you that I saw Lucille get tracked down and tackled by like 600 children once?
Did he deserve it?
He did not.
He wronged them.
He didn't wrong them. He was like, whatever. It's a long story. Well, but okay.
The Warriors are one of 3 NBA teams that don't have a mascot. Because they took Thunderman out back and shot his ass. He's dead. Yeah. But like the Valks don't either. But like The crowd is great. Like it sort of feels like a Warriors crowd, but like way more women, way gayer, way more people of like all different ages. Like there's a lot more older people and younger people. Like it really just feels like a more representative slice of the Bay. And everyone is like so into it. It's really fun. It's like there's this energy that they've like tapped into. Like it makes total sense. Some of it is onboarding from like Warriors stuff. Like you can see there's like the way that they've set up the org makes people think it will be like they have confidence that they're going to do it the right way, because like as much as we make fun of Joe Lacob for saying that he and his wife fucked the Larry O'Brien trophy after the 2015 title, they have run a good org. Yeah. Like just around both Oakland and San Francisco, but honestly, Oakland, and I guess I just live here, so maybe I'm seeing it more, but like so much merch out in the streets. Like we tried to go to the official team store after the game and we had to wait in like a 15-minute line to get in, because like everyone was just like buying everything. Like it just feels like big time, you know?
One of the other, and this is small sample size, so I don't want to go too big on this, but something that I really liked about the Liberty, about Liberty games is that, and I wonder if it's the same. I would want to know which arenas also correspond to this, but both Barclays and Chase Center are stadiums that have been built relatively recently and sort of with some understanding of urbanism, like at their core. They are like connected to public transit. They are sort of enmeshed in the city. I think the Chase Center is a little bit more complicated because it's sort of sequestered in this weird little chrome town, but it is still, it's still in fucking downtown San Francisco.
It's a 10-minute Waymo from Bart.
Exactly, 10-minute Waymo. When you couple that with the lower like price barrier to entry, there's something about it that feels less like almost like less eventized, like less like, oh my God, this is the one time we're going to the thing we're all traveling in for this big giant event, and more of just like a staple, like an ongoing community staple.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
That I felt, and maybe I'm just like, I am then projecting onto it, but like my experience of the Liberty game is like I went, had a little light dinner nearby, went to the game, and then like went out afterwards. And I've never done that before with these like less enmeshed arenas. And I just like all of that was putting sports in a different, or live sports in a different light for me, where it's normal. It used to be when I grew up going to games in Oakland, it was like I would drive 45 minutes. I would wait, and then we would drive 45 minutes home and like talk about the game. And that's I have a lot of nostalgia and I love that shit as well. But there's something more like I don't know the word.
There's like a lightness to it, and that's a really interesting point. I hadn't thought about that, but it really does like integrate into your day a lot easier in like every context. Like I've been to Liberty, Aces, and Valks games at like, morning, afternoon, and night, and they all do feel like and maybe it's just because they're shorter too and cheaper, but like I really have been able to flow into and out of them. Like after this one, we like walked all the way up to downtown San Francisco, and it was just like a really nice afternoon, and it felt like, oh yeah, you have your whole day ahead of you. And
it's so funny too, like what we're talking about is like what in a way should be the bare minimum for an NBA game. Like God forbid you could get into an NBA game for fucking under $160 and not take 7 Ubers to get there. But the reality is that's not the case, That's not the reality.
I've gone to like one Kings game a year for the past like 2 years, and it's always like this big event where I have to Venmo like 9 people for these like $150 Ticketmaster things to sit in like objectively not very good seats, and then you go and watch them lose, and then you just talk about like who should be fired and traded as you go home, and it's like that's your night. And
last Knicks game I went to came with a party full. There was I'm not even joking. There was a party full to coordinate it.
That's so funny. Yeah, this was like I went with one group of four connected to another group of four, and then another friend and her friend had season tickets in the lower bowl. We snuck down for the fourth quarter, sat in these like 2 empty seats next to them, and it was just like, it was just fun. Like it all feels good, and it's one of those things where you project forward and think like, okay, if they start winning, does this change? And I think it just kind of draws more people in. Like maybe it gets more expensive, but I don't know. It all maybe also. I've also, maybe the explanation is way simpler, and it's that these games take place in the summer when the weather is nice, and men's basketball is like a winter sport, and so it's like,
funny.
No matter what time the game ends, it's like more than likely going to be dark.
Well, I think the larger point, if there is one that we're building toward, is that it's a cool opportunity that these emerging teams, organizations, etc. Like or maybe not even the teams. It's a moment where we all get to look at. Nothing is off the table about how a sporting event should go down, how watching a sporting event should go down, etc. And there is this kind of exciting, like, no bad ideas option. And I think we're seeing a lot of these like savvy business people or people thinking about all this kind of stuff actually trying to focus on, fan engagement, like the stuff that's fun. And, it's funny. It's like maybe in 3 years, we're going to be like, God damn it. Why did we sing the praises of like 75 venture capital firms or whatever? But there is something, there's something that I enjoy the idea that nothing's off limits from a like, what is the best way to do this? Etc.
Yeah, it's like we've scraped all the barnacles off like the whole of the sports game day experience and like built something fresher, and like no matter what it actually does turn out to be, even if it is just an elephant just twerking for an hour and 45 minutes and then occasionally there's a basketball play happening, like that is different,
That is at the very least different. Yeah. Please. I'm now scared of like, how Dolan has the like facial recognition. I'm gonna get got by Joe Tsai. He's gonna like black bag me, and I'm gonna wake up in like a LE black site.
You try to move anywhere within 2 miles of the former pasta factory, and every landlord is like, "Oh no, sorry, a friend of Clara's said not to rent to you."
Yeah, exactly. All right, that's all. I think. Any final Valks updates?
No, just keep it. Yeah, I'm excited to keep watching. I'm going to at least one more game this month, maybe two. I might try to get credentialed and talk to some players and coaches and see what they think. But yeah, just good energy. And I'm excited to keep watching.
Fuck yeah. All right. Well, see you guys. Thanks again, Dan Devine, and we will talk to you guys. Oh, we have a fun one next week. I don't want to spoil it, but that'll
be a good one.
All right.